Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Cyrus Webb Presents. We're about to go live on Amazon Live with our guest for this segment, St. Clair Detrick-Jules. She's the author of this book, My Beautiful Black Hair. You all see it there. It's a beautiful book, too. We're going to talk to St. Clair not only about what it was like for her to compile the stories that are in the book, but also the beautiful photographs that go along with it. I want to say hello to you guys who are joining us on the Facebook side of our program. If you all have any questions for St. Clair, feel free to be able to drop those in the chat as you always do. We'll make sure to bring those in as we can. Also, those tuning in on YouTube, I see you guys as well. Feel free to. We'll be able to curate your comments too, as well as those coming in from our Amazon.com audience. You guys know the book officially comes out tomorrow. So if you guys are joining us live on September 27th, the book officially comes out tomorrow. However, you can go ahead and pre-order it, both the Kindle as well as the hard copy that I have here. You will see both of them in the Amazon carousel that is with the link that is with this particular broadcast. And you're watching Cyrus Webb Presents here on Amazon Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. Appreciate you all being with us for another great broadcast featuring an author who has an amazing book that's coming out on Tuesday, September 28th. We're excited to welcome St. Clair Detrick-Jules to our program. Her book is called simply My Beautiful Black Hair. We're going to go ahead and highlight it in the carousel. You guys can see it there. It is on sale right now on Amazon. You all can get the hard copy. You can see there for $17.49 right now. And the Kindle edition is on sale right now for $9.99. We'll be reminding you of that throughout the conversation today as we're talking to St. Clair about what it was like for her to be able to compile these amazing stories, to photograph these women, and what she hopes you're able to take away from their stories. St. Clair, thank you so much for being with us. Really appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Well, at the time we're having this conversation live, and our audience on Instagram will actually see it on Pub Day. So for them, they could actually get the book as we're talking. But for those who are joining us on Amazon Live right now, and they can pre-order the book, they have it ready for them for tomorrow. You know, some of them may just be hearing about the book. What is it like for you now to have spent time with these stories, St. Clair, and now to be able to share them with the rest of the world?
Yeah, this is my first book. This is my debut photojournalism book. And so obviously it's a little bit nerve-wracking, but I think more than anything, I'm just really excited because I've been working on this book since I graduated college in 2018. And so to be able to finally release it to the world now and to have it be a project that's so personal and so close to my heart feels really exciting and validating.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, it's a beautiful book, and I introduced St. Clair as an author, but she is so much more than that. She's also a photographer. We're going to talk to her about the curating of these amazing stories. But I want to talk about what it was like for you, St. Clair, to be able to bring all of your passions together. I feel like that when I'm hosting this broadcast. I'm able to take my love of books, because I'm a big nerd, as well as having conversations with folks like yourself and bring all of that to an audience. What is it like for you to take two of your passions of telling stories and photographs and bringing them in this book?
Yeah, it's amazing. And when I started putting this book together, I really didn't know how it was going to turn out or how / if it was going to get into the world at all.
Yeah.
But it's been really amazing to be able to combine these two passions because I am really passionate about storytelling and using storytelling as a vehicle for social change and also as a way to humanize just other people, and use that as a way for social justice and so that we can recognize our shared humanity. And then photography and filmmaking, I love the visual component as well. So it's been great.
Yeah. So, for people who are just hearing about My Beautiful Black Hair, I have to say, St. Clair, and I grew up in Mississippi. I've lived here most of my life. I've been here because of COVID now for the past year and a half. I have not left the state physically. But it surprises me that in 2021, that there are some things that are considered controversial. And one of those is the topic of hair, and particularly black hair. Does it surprise you that we're still having conversations like this in 2021?
In a way, yes. Of course, it's surprising, because Black people have been in this country for over 400 years at this point. And so it really is disheartening that after all of these centuries, really, there are some who still aren't used to Black hair and who still say that Black people need to change their hair, to be more professional in the workplace or to fit in at school, and so it is in a way surprising that it's been so long and we still haven't moved past these, I would say, white supremacist beauty standards and expectations. But at the same time, I think that that this is intentional, right? There are so many systems in place working to constantly bring Black people and Black women in particular down. And I think that one of the ways they do that is by trying to make us feel less beautiful and less worthy as we are. And so I think that now with the natural hair movement, it's a really beautiful and important moment because we're working to reject that idea that we are not beautiful just the way we are.
Yeah. St. Clair, but you show some of the stories I'm going to highlight from the book really show it goes so much deeper than I think people like myself on the outside even realize, because a lot of them talk about the psychological effect of dealing, and that I never thought about that. And normally we just think, cosmetically, like you just mentioned, people say, have your hair this way, it looks more professional. I've heard that, but I never thought about the psychological aspect and how it could make the woman feel psychologically because of the way others see her and she sees herself. Was that a surprise for you as you were hearing these stories, or did you know going in that was a component you wanted to share?
I didn't realize going into this book how much I was going to learn about the psychological component of our natural hair, because it is true, right? It's not just a question of style or fashion. I mean, it is, and our hair can definitely be this beautiful accessory, but it goes so much deeper than that. And I hadn't realized personally as a Black woman, I hadn't realized how I was negatively impacted psychologically as a kid by going to a majority white elementary school and not liking my natural hair. But it really, looking back, I think, oh my gosh, every single day I woke up, I looked in the mirror and I did not like what I saw. And every single day for all of those years until finally I got to college and started seeing my natural hair beautiful, that really, I think, had an impact on me. And so working on this book, I really realized, oh my gosh, this is right. I started this project for my little sister to teach her how to love her hair, but I also still have so much unlearning to do myself. And I really need to delve into the psychological component and see the impact that it's had on me and how I can heal from that too.
It's interesting to hear you use the word learning there, St. Clair, because the first story I want to share, Danielle, she talks about that. I want to say for those who are just tuning in, both on the Amazon Live site and those tuning in on Facebook and YouTube, you all are watching Cyrus Webb Presents. If you're joining us on the Amazon.com platform, and you guys are just coming in, I see some of you guys are just chiming in there. You will notice on this corner, you will see a follow button. If you're on your desktop or laptop, you all can click that to be able to follow us here on Amazon Live to stay up with our programming. We have programming 7 days a week here. If you're joining us on your mobile device, you'll notice the follow button is below. Also, for those tuning in on your desktop or laptop, you will notice below you will see St. Clair's book. You see there, my beautiful black hair. We're going to actually dive into some of the stories as well and remind you all how you can be able to stay connected with St. Clair as well. But I want to talk about Danielle's story. For those who are making notes, it's on page 98 for those who have the hardcover. And she says this, and I thought it was one of the stories that stood out to me, St. Clair. She said, I didn't feel happy if my hair wasn't straight. I didn't feel like I could go to formal events with my hair curly. I was always trying to tame my hair to fit in. And finally, one day, I just slowly began learning about my hair and about how beautiful it is. And now I'm here and I love it. What was it like for you to hear stories like that, where it almost was a thing where it got them to understand that they were beautiful the way they are? They didn't have to do anything else to fit in. What was that like for you to hear stories like Danielle?
I mean, it's beautiful. On the one hand, it's heartbreaking because you're hearing all these stories of people who spent so many years disliking the natural state of their hair, but it's also so beautiful to see all of these Black women and to hear all of these stories from Black women who are liberating themselves through embracing their natural hair, right? And realizing, oh my gosh, my hair, the way that my hair naturally out of my head is beautiful, and I can wear it to formal events. I can, still be happy even if my hair isn't straight, right? I can embrace my natural hair at all times, and that was a really cool experience. And again, I hope that this natural hair movement really sticks around, because I would love for that sort of mindset to keep growing, right? So that more Black women feel affirmed in their natural hair and feel change it to fit in.
Yeah. Speaking of feeling affirmed, you made something very clear in the introduction of the book, and I should go back because, again, for those who are joining us live, the book is not officially out yet, so you guys may not even know this is in the introduction that St. Clair wrote. You made it very clear that even though you were sharing these stories of women becoming comfortable with their natural hair, you were in no way demeaning others who did not wear their natural hair. Why was that important for you to make that clear in the beginning of the book, St. Clair, what your intent was in sharing these stories and what it was not?
Yeah, well, I think Black women's hair is so policed, right? Heavily policed,
Mm.
and so many Black women feel like whatever they do with their hair, someone is going to be upset with them about it. Someone is going to have something negative to say about it. And so I wanted to clarify that I don't want to bring anybody down regardless of how they wear their hair. Black women should have the full autonomy to style their hair however they want, whether it's natural or in another style, and especially given the real consequences that so many Black women face for wearing their natural hair. I definitely think that instead of judging Black women who, for whatever reason, haven't gone natural, we should be working to create a world where every Black woman knows that natural hair is an option, right? So that was my goal with the book, not saying every Black woman has to go natural, right? No, but just saying we need to create a world in which that's an option for every Black woman.
Yeah. Keeping up with the thought of learning, Alexis is the next story that I wanted to share from the book, St. Clair. It's for those who have the hard copy. It's on page 68. She said something else that I thought was interesting and definitely wanted to talk to you about. And she started off by saying, when I started getting my hair relaxed, I didn't realize the depth of what I was doing. I thought I was just making my hair easier to manage, but now I look at it like a psychological thing, where a lot of us Hispanics are trying to erase the traces of Blackness that we have in us by straightening our hair, by lightening our skin, by trying to look more European in any way we can. And I feel like psychologically, it does do something to us because we're enforcing the insecurity that we have in our minds instead of embracing what we were given. Talk to us about Alexis and how she came to be a part of this project.
Yeah, so Alexis, actually, some of the women I knew before photographing and interviewing them for the book, and
Mhm.
some of the women I found through, online natural hair communities through social media. And so Alexis was one of the women who I found through the, natural hair community on Instagram, actually. And so I met up with her in New York, and I photographed her, and told me all about her experience as an Afro-Latina and how she actually did not identify as Afro-Latina until she went through the journey with her natural hair. And, and again, and that was really beautiful too, because I had just met her, right, for this project, yet she was willing to be a part of this project to help my sister and to help all Black women and girls recognize the beauty in their natural hair. And she also, I think, told, as you just read, a really personal story about her almost trauma as a kid, right? Straightening her hair without realizing the depths of what she was doing to it. And so I was really grateful that she was willing to share that personal story with me.
I want to talk about something that's a little sensitive, St. Clair, but I feel like it's important for the conversation that we're having here because, yes, we're talking about what so many people feel like others expect of them. But to be quite honest, we see a lot of representation on television and in films of women who are, highly recognized, who do straighten their hair, that do make changes, and they are looked at as being beautiful. Now, of course, I don't personally know what they're dealing with that makes them do that, but it's one of those things that people talk about versus if they try other styles. Is this a bigger conversation than just about what another group may do to to Black women? Is it a larger conversation about what we in general are doing and saying what is beautiful?
You mean amongst ourselves, amongst the
Right,
Black?
right.
Yeah, yeah. I think that is a really tough topic to delve into, but I think it's a really important one, and one that women in my book share as well about, yes, there's, you know, the mainstream media often, determined and directed by non-Black people, but then even amongst ourselves, even amongst Black people, there is, I think, a lot of internalized anti-Blackness, I would argue. And, there are some others. One woman in the book shares a story about her mother literally forcing her on the ground and placing relaxing cream on her head, not because she wanted to be malicious, but because she genuinely thought that that's what was the best thing for her daughter. And so I think that we absolutely need to be having these conversations, our family members as well, right? There's another woman who I talked to, and she told me that she went to a majority Black elementary school, and she went in with her afro one day, and all of her Black classmates made fun of her and said she looked like a tree. And so I think that these white supremacist beauty standards are so embedded into our community that we sometimes start policing ourselves, even amongst Black people, when it comes to the hair of Black women and girls. Yeah.
Yeah. What surprised you the most, St. Clair, about? Well, for one thing, I have to say, I have to applaud you on one thing from before I go any further. The trust these women showed in you. What was that like, first of all, to know that they trusted you with their truth?
It's an honor, and I don't take anything for granted. Every time someone shares a story with me is really, really an honor, because I love hearing other people's stories, and I recognize that it can be really hard to be vulnerable. I never really shared personal things about myself or let myself be vulnerable with my friends really until I got to college. And so I think that the fact that so many of these women were willing to be vulnerable with me, oftentimes as a stranger, was really a blessing. And I'm just so grateful for that.
Did you know going in that you were going to see such a variety of women, but with themes running through them? Meaning they may come from different places, but that their experiences, definitely there was a thread there that kind of showed the unity in between them.
Yeah, I didn't, when I went into this project, I didn't really have a set outline. I just sort of
Okay.
started photographing and interviewing my friends, in the beginning, and I sort of just asked them to share anything about their natural hair story. It was very sort of off the cuff. It wasn't outlined or anything like that. And I also didn't expect that my project was going to include 101 women. I thought it would just
Mm.
include a few. But the more stories I heard and the more I realized, oh my gosh, every Black woman's story about her hair is so unique. And I just want to be able to share as many as I can, really. I had to cut it off at some point. But yeah. So yeah. And then once I, was about halfway through with my interviews, I had about 50 women, and then I went back, read over, I transcribed them and read them all over and sort of looked for common themes among them.
Did you find among the interviews, St. Clair, did you find those who you connected with on a personal level, that their stories reminded you of your own story?
Yes, I would say I connected with almost everyone, because all
Mm.
of the women in the book went through some phase of not liking their natural hair or wishing that their natural hair was straight. Almost all of the women. And so I connected with all of them on that level. I connected when people talked about, going natural, but then still feeling the need to straighten their hair for formal events, for special things, that deserved straight hair. And I connected with that because I did that for a long time, where, yeah, my hair was curly on an everyday basis, but then for special events, I felt like I need to straighten my hair so I can really be, so that resonated a lot with me as well.
We're going to come back to the book, Sinclair. Really enjoying this conversation with you. I want to say again, for those who are just tuning in, I see more of you coming in on Amazon Live side. We appreciate you guys. We're talking today with Clair Detrick-Jules about her debut book. It's a collection of photography and great stories, My Beautiful Black Hair. It's going to be available officially on Tuesday, September the 28th. We're getting a sneak peek with Clair and discussing the book. Perfect timing because October is National Book Month. So it's a great book to be able to add to your list. And as I mentioned earlier, if you guys notice on the Amazon.com carousel right now, it is on sale. You guys can get the Kindle edition for only $9.99. You can get, of course, the print edition for $17.49 right now on Amazon. You'll just click below in the carousel. You can add that to your cart. It'll be waiting for you tomorrow for those who get the Kindle edition, and of course, be able to come to you for those who are choosing the print edition of the book. You mentioned something earlier I wanted to go back to, St. Clair, and then we're going to come back to Hannah's story, which I think is really powerful in the book. You mentioned an online community, and I think it's so fascinating because, again, social media has brought so many people together. Talk to us about what that was like for you to have a platform like Instagram where you could be able to find individuals with common struggles and also common triumphs.
Yeah, it's, I think that social media, there are definitely downsides to it, but I think one of the really beautiful pieces of it is that you can sort of find people who share similar backgrounds and similar stories, and so that was really great. Looking at, I discovered so many natural hair hashtags, like natural hair community, Afro, Black Girl Magic, like all of these different hashtags that I used to really connect with these, with so many of these other women. I thought that was really great and definitely sort of a positive side of social media. And I know, YouTube even, a lot of the women in the book talked about YouTube being their best friend when they first went natural, because all of a sudden, they could find women with their exact same hair type, who were giving out tips and tricks for styling their natural hair. And some of the women who I talked to who went natural in sort of pre-YouTube era talked about how difficult it was for some of them to figure out how to go natural and how to their natural hair, because again, a lot of women have since they were kids and never really dealt with their natural hair before.
Yeah. I mentioned Hannah. That's going to be the final profile that I referenced from the book. She's at the end on page 238. But there's two things that she mentioned that I think is really something. For one, I love the fact what she says about herself. And she says this, nowadays you don't see too many kids going outside and having fun, but that's all I wanted to do when I was a kid. I didn't even think about my hair back then. I had 3 older brothers, and my parents raised me the same way they raised them, watching football, going outside, playing sports. I know this might sound crazy, but I used to play in the dirt and make little mud pies and pretend they were actually food. I was a very carefree child. I did not care what my hair looked like, did not care what I looked like. And then she goes on to say this, and this is the second thing that I thought was really, really powerful. All I cared about was being happy and surrounding myself with loving people. If I was sad, it was because a friend was going home after a play date, or because it was too dark to play outside, not because of my hair. So my family never had to remind me to love myself, because I always have. And I thought, wow, that is, there are so many people, and I wanted to make sure I shared that story, St. Clair, because I think you would agree, even though there are so many people who have had to deal with the challenges that have come from being natural or looking a certain way, there are some that this is just natural for them. This is just their way of life. Talk to us about Hannah and what it was like for you to share her very honest story. And I like the fact that she said twice, I didn't think about what my hair looked like. I mean, what was that like for you to kind of share her story and her perspective?
Yeah, I think that definitely, her story stands in contrast to most of the women in the book, in that she always loved her natural hair. And I think that, it's so beautiful. And that's how childhood should be, and adulthood too, honestly, right? I don't think we should put so much weight into physical appearance you know, and definitely our physical appearance shouldn't be something that brings us down, whether that's our hair or anything else about our bodies, you know. But it's so, I think, ingrained in our society now, even starting from childhood, for people, and especially women and girls, to dislike some part of their bodies, including their hair, and to feel self-conscious and sad about it. And so to hear Hannah's story, I think, is really a reminder to me of what's possible, right? And we can create a world where people are just happy and their priorities are playing, having fun, as opposed to worrying about physical appearances, right? I think that that's, you know, and especially for kids, that's what I want for my sister. That's why it was so hard for me when she came home from school and said that she was sad because of her hair when she was only 4 years old, you know. And I hope that, you know, in the future we can get back to a place where every Black girl grows up just like Hannah, you know, never feeling sad because her hair is a certain type of way. Instead, you know, embracing her natural hair and letting that sort of be a part of her joy, actually.
Yeah, such a great thing. Such a beautiful book, St. Clair. So glad we had a chance to discuss it here again. St. Clair Detrick-Jules has been our guest. The book is My Beautiful Black Hair. You all can see it there. It's available for pre-order for those that are joining us live. For those who are joining us after the 28th, it's out now. You guys can go ahead and be able to get it. Either way, just go to Amazon. You can be able to get it, either the Kindle edition or the print edition. Again, it is on sale right now. Published by one of my favorite publishers, Chronicle Books. I've had several of their authors on our program, and great to see another great book they've been able to put out. Last thing I want to ask you, and I appreciate you putting up with all my questions, St. Clair, and I'm so excited for you and your first book. But what was it like for you when you first held it?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I took a video of this. It's on my Instagram. Yeah, I mean, when I first got the box, you know, I had my family and a couple friends around me, and it was just this big moment because it was something that I, you know, again, I just been working on for so long, and sometimes I didn't know if the project was going to go anywhere. I didn't, you know, especially with the pandemic and everything, I didn't know if it was ever going to get out into the world. And so to hold the book in my hand for the first time was really just an affirmation, I think, of all of the work and all of the years that I've spent creating this. And I think, again, like my word of the year really is gratitude. So I just felt so much gratitude when I held it for the first time.
Well, gratitude's a great word to have. Congratulations to you again. Again, everyone, St. Clair Detrick-Jules is our guest. Make sure you guys get her first book, a great mixture of storytelling and photographs. My Beautiful Black Hair is the title of it. And St. Clair, how can they stay connected with you?
Yeah, so they can go to, let's see, my Instagram is at St. Clair Detrick-Jules. So I'll spell it out. It's STCLAIR DETRICKJUS. You can go there. You can also follow my black hair Instagram page, which is just at My Beautiful Black Hair. And let's see, on Twitter, I'm St. Clair, so STCLAIR_DJ. And you can also go to my website at stclairdetrickjules.com to stay connected.
All right, St. Clair, congratulations to you again. I know they will be seeing a lot more of you and looking forward to our next conversation together.
Thank you. So am I. Thank you for having me.
More than welcome. I want to thank our mutual friend, Don Hardy, for setting up this chat with us for today. And thank all of you for tuning in, both for our audience joining us on Amazon Live, as well as tuning in on Facebook and YouTube. Until next time, I'm Cyrus Webb, and let's make it a great one. We'll talk soon. Take care.